everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Time with Jesus. It's Truck Talk here, or Truck Talk and Time with Jesus. Either way you want to say it, as long as we keep Jesus in it. So, we're going to dig into part 2. We're going to jump right into this. And, sometimes we do things and we don't understand why people say or do things that they do. Because we become very judgmental, hypocritical, and we become what? We gossip. You add all three of those things together, and it usually turns into a disaster. And that's what I was even talking about yesterday. Sometimes showing people what not to do is the best way to do it. So, the walk where I came from to where I'm at today, I don't care who tries to discredit Jesus. The Lord told me a long time. Sorry, this cross is twisted. The Lord told me a long time ago, and it's funny because even with Darlene, he actually told her the same thing. Different times. I mean, I wasn't even with Darlene at this time. Going through. Being a single parent, and that's really never really changed from the time that I was married before because of the lifestyle and things like that. But when you go through struggles and you got two other people that is living in the household that you're responsible for, you have to take care of them. The Lord told me, because I was frustrated with a lot of things. Things were going on at work and just trying to figure out who He was in general. And he told me one day, I was so frustrated because people kept throwing the Bible up. You have to know the Scripture. You have to know this. You got to walk this way. You got to do it this way. But in reality, all he said is, you don't have to prove me. Just show me. And I was like, what do you mean? That doesn't even make no sense. And basically what he was saying to me is, you don't have to prove that I exist, but just show that I exist. How you react every day shows His existence. And what He does, it glorifies the Father. If you go back into the temptation after He was baptized, you go into there, what happened? Jesus knew the Word. Satan knew the Word. It was the battle of who was going to overcome the Word. See, Lucifer just plants and plants and plants and plants. But Lucifer really never does do anything to you. You do it yourself. See, the Bible is very clear of how we should be. If there is problems in your life, the Bible is the answer. It solves it. And take a fool's advice. I discredit everything everybody said. Because when you're a scared 15-year-old little boy running around and you have no clue what you're doing, and you end up in wicked places, you end up doing things that you never thought you would do. But in the long run, I go back to those days and I look at those days, and that's why I said I don't want pity. I have learned a valuable lesson that most people couldn't even pay for. Most people couldn't survive if they tried. Now, how many of you ever watched the TV show Alone on the History Channel? I say it all the time. Other than food, I could go on there. I know how to survive. I know how to dig holes. I know how to keep warm. I know how to do those very things. Food would be my issue. I can go days without eating. But on that show, if you lose too much weight, they kick you off. In reality, it doesn't matter how much weight you lose because people don't care. You eventually just die. But if you die without Christ, you're dead. God has a lot of answers. And we don't even realize how many answers that He actually has. And I brought this book out because I knew I was going to tackle some of this. Jesus answers your every need, your every prayer. And it's amazing because I can go to the front of this and let's see. Why don't I feel joyful? Go to page 144. Why don't I feel joyful? The heart of Jesus answers, these things I have spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full. Have you made a choice to rejoice? Hopefully so. After all, if you're a believer, you have plenty of reasons to be joyful. Yet sometimes now I know what you're all thinking because it just dawned on me. I did not plan that. I just honestly went to the first thing that my eyes went to and picked it out. Which is going to bring me to this part. I'm telling you, this is all Jesus right here. And as God is my witness, this is all Jesus right here. Because if you are not joyful, you cannot show Him. In every situation that we go through, we have to show Jesus. It doesn't matter, people. If you freak out over every little single thing, you wake up in the morning, your tire's flat, and you go out there screaming, yelling, carrying on. This is what I want you to do the next time your tire's flat and you're mad at the world. And you're out there cursing and screaming, and I want you to go around and kick as hard as you can. And I mean literally kick your other tires as hard as you can. And then I want you to walk around and look at that flat tire again. Now I want you, let's just say it's your passenger front tire. I want you to start there and I want you to kick it. And then I want you to go all the way around the car and come back to that flat tire. Then I want you to kick that sucker again. And then I want you to go all the way around again and do the same thing to the other tires and come back around. And then after you kick that flat tire for the third time, I want you to walk back around the third time and come around. I want you to pay attention to every single tire. And I guarantee one thing is going to be the same. The 3 tires are still pumped up and the other tire's flat. You have not accomplished a dang gone thing. But worrying and stressing, and what am I going to do? I'm going to be late for work. Maybe you need to be late for work. You ever stop and think how to praise God in the difficult situations? But we're quick to thank God for the good, and we're quick to condemn God in the bad. Well, I'm not condemning God. Yes, you are when you go into doubt. You're telling God He doesn't know what He's doing. You start thinking that I want this, I needed this, why didn't I get this? Because now you're putting yourself higher than God. Because maybe you didn't need it. Maybe what you were asking for was totally going to lead you further away from Him. Why do you think He doesn't grant everybody's wish to be a millionaire? Look, turn on the news these days and look at what millionaires get you. Sick, twisted, perverted people. Now, I'm not saying everybody that's a millionaire, but I guarantee it. We can go down the list of people that right now are shameful. You look at the pastors, you look at these priests, you look at all these things that are happening in these churches. Why? Because it's demonic. Destroy the church and make them hateful. Make them a place where nobody wants to go. Who wants to walk into a church these days when you got people being molested, you got pastors doing the wrong things, you got fathers raping little boys in these Catholic church? I mean, come on, people. This is no different than what's going on in the schools when these people are going in there and identifying as something else. It's a mockery of God. And we're standing here saying it's okay. Now, hold on. How does that get you into heaven? It gets you into heaven because we are to uphold the Bible. When you take glory of yourself and man comes and pats you on the back, no thank you. What I do in secret and what I do and what I give to and what I serve is no one's business but Jesus and God. Now, we talked about a lot yesterday about the families and your family and examining your family. Fathers stepping up because there's nobody right now raising most of these children. And they're raising up without a father because Lucifer don't want the father to be glorified. He wants to be glorified. He wants people to praise and worship him. That's why we have all these stupid nonsense statues that's going around. That's why we have all these Illuminatis and the triangles and the pyramids and the schemes and all the tricks and wonders that he's capable of doing. Now, we talk about the scripture where people say, no, I don't believe that. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, you better believe that the world is in Satan's power. It's not yet in Lucifer's, because if it was in Lucifer's, you wouldn't be enjoying your life very much. So, when you become that point, when you truly start to go, okay, I'm ready to accept Jesus Christ. But are you really ready? Think about some of the things that I was talking about yesterday. Think about some of the video. I don't know when it posted, but I see it's on there. I read the comments. I haven't got a chance to answer. I did answer one. But I haven't got a chance to get on there and answer the other ones. But I will right after this one uploads. But here's where we got to go at. When you're accepting Jesus and you're allowing the Spirit of Him and the Father to live in you, it has to be holy. You got to let them clean you. You got to let them prune you. You got to let Jesus continue to mold and sculpt you, the same as the Father did in your mother's womb. That means sometimes we got to walk away from things, people. These children are raising themselves on the streets because there's no father figure. The mother can only do so much. That's why these children start turning and they overpower the female. So you have to know exactly what Jesus expects. A person of few words, a person that's not going to tear down somebody. And we tear down people by gossiping about people. We tear down people by falsely accusing people. We tear down people by letting seeds of doubt in the head. Because you can't tell me that you are not having seeds of doubt if as soon as you see something that you assume that you think that this is what's going on, because you start to believe what all the demons spoke. When you start to do that and you break down a person's spirit and you cause them to stumble, now granted, you're going to be responsible for that stumble. I've had too many people do it to me. It really starts to suck after a while. Don't say that word. It really hurts, honestly. It's like, if I had to describe what it feels like, it's like you're constantly watching over your shoulder. Everything that goes on, anybody that walks up to you, you just want to get away from. See, they have no idea. People sometimes, you don't know what you do to someone. This is why we don't gossip. This is why we don't go on social media and destroy somebody's reputation. Not saying a reputation is a bad thing, but not saying it's a good thing either. But I'm just saying credibility of somebody, and you rip that apart. Good thing I'm a strong person. What if all this nonsense that people said about me pushed me over the edge? And two possibilities here, okay? Two possibilities. It pushed me over to that point, which it almost did. That I go back to my old ways, or I take my life. Depression's a heck of a thing to put on somebody. No way out feeling is a heck of a way to live a life. And I've been in both of them. You feel hopeless. You feel that you can't go forward. So why do we talk about people? When do we become the perfect person that walks this earth? Again, I'm going to say the plank in the eye of you compared to the splinter in the other. When the prostitute was brought and caught in the act, and she stood there, Jesus, writing in the sand, stands up and says, "Thou without sin may throw the first stone." Oldest by young, they left. And Jesus says, "Where are the convictors?" She said, "They all left." And he said, "Then I do not condemn you either, but go and sin no more, or worse may fall on you." Now, some people say exactly, she's not forgiven, worse may fall on you. And people love to use that into the adultery thing, that we are sinners and we're going to hell and we're going to do this. Well, let me tell you right now, I've been all over that Bible and I've been looking up scripture, and what drags people into hell is the very way we respond and the way we act. It has nothing to do with what we're doing. Yes, it does in a way, but not in the case that I'm talking about right now. What takes people there is yourself. I can't take you to hell. I can't take you to heaven. But you can do that yourself. Now, I had a person say, "Well, Nelson, I don't believe we go to either place." Because the Bible clearly says no one has seen heaven. No, it does not say that. It says no one has seen the Father. You don't have to believe me if there's people in heaven. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to. You don't have to believe me if there's people in hell. Well, what does it mean by the dead shall rise? The dead here. I was dead once. Not by hanging or the other attempts of suicide. I'm talking dead. I was dead to Christ. I denied him. That's dead. The dead shall rise. All these foolish people that claim to be Christians, all these foolish people that, well, I did. Why do you think Jesus said in Revelation what he said? Good works alone and all these things, because they're going to walk up there and say, "I cast out demons. I did these works. I did good things in your name." And he's going to say, "Be gone from me. I do not know you." What does that tell you? You cannot buy your way. You can't work your way. You cannot do the very things that you're thinking you can do and get your little check mark. And as when we were children growing up, I know when I was growing up, and I'm sure many people can relate to this, when the teacher handed it back, you always look for that little gold star. And we had a chart on the board, on this big poster board, and each day I always wanted the gold star. But you had to do everything the teacher asked, and I wouldn't. Because I was afraid to talk, because of my stuttering problem. And the kids would make fun of me a lot. But you see, it wasn't my fault. Some things in life you just can't help. We are so judgmental. We look at other people and we automatically, instead of holding the door for someone, we're more important. When's the last time you've seen an old lady putting groceries in the car and offer to help, or at least go take the back, or a woman that has a child and she's loading them groceries up, and then she's got to carry her child all the way to take the cart back and then carry the child back? Why can't you just simply stop for 5 seconds and say, "Ma'am, I'm not going to hurt you, but if you need help putting the groceries in there, or when you're done, I'll just stand right here and you can just push the cart over, that way you don't have to walk your son or your daughter or whatever over there to the cart return. I'll do it for you." Or if it's raining, grab an umbrella and walk down there and cover somebody up. Or if somebody's struggling in a line and they don't have enough, you help them. Those are the true good works. Because you're doing it without being seen by man. But God sees everything we do. He knows how you run your households. He knows how you just give babysitters. And let me tell you something. Well, I don't have the phone in my hand. I have another phone somewhere. I don't know where it is, but we are glued to our phones, people. People, I'm telling you right now, you would freak out over your phone missing than you would your own children being out there on the streets. When's the last time you asked your children to see a report card? Do they even give report cards anymore? Probably not. You know, we overlook things. Why was the COVID so important? Why was homeschooling so important? Why is it still so important? Why is all this stuff going into the schools and being taken away? Because Lucifer wants your children at home. Why? Because he wants them ignorant. Because he knows when you're not around, they're going to play their video games. They're going to get on their phone. They're going to do whatever the heck they want. Because they know they're already getting away with it. When was the last time you just picked up one of their books and made sure they didn't have pages cut out and stuff stashed in their books? Just because they carry a book around? Is it a normal thing? Probably not. But they do it just to get right by you, just to see what they can get away with. See, they're learning the devil's ways. They're learning Satan's ways. They're learning Lucifer's ways. Because we're not doing the godly ways. They watch you. Go back to when I talked about the Watchers. Go back and talk when they transform. You know, you look at the I can't even think of the name of them now. Dang it. Too many demons. That's the problem. Anyways. But you look at them. They can transform into animals. They can transform in there because they need a host. They can look like a person. They can walk past you, and you're going to swear for one moment you see that. But isn't it amazing how quick you forget those things? Because you're not paying attention. I bet you so many times people, if you just sat there long enough and thought about, well, that was very odd what my child just did. Why did they do that? Because most likely it probably is not them. I'm telling you, these shape changers, these skinwalkers, that's what it was, skinwalkers, when they manifest into an animal, I'm telling you, they become human. They will sit up with their paws rested on them, sit there, and you will, but as soon as it notices you looking at them, they go back into an animal. Same thing with cats. Same thing with animals. Whatever it is, that's exactly what the whisperer, the watcher, the shadow, that's what it does. It can portray somebody in a second because whatever fear, whatever anger you have, that's what it's going to feed off of. We have to be very careful with anger because God is slow to anger. Why are we so quick to anger? See, it's not so easy. People think it's so easy to get into heaven. No, it's not. It can be, but it's not. Why? Because we are hypocritical, judgmental. We are better than the other person. I've heard people all the time, well, I loaned this money, I did this, I have done this, I have helped this person, big la-di-da. Then why did you do it? Well, they never paid me back. Have you paid God back yet? Have you paid God back? I don't want to hear nothing. Somebody owes you, somebody did something until you paid God back. So I'm going to need you all to come with me. All you complainers, all you people that are so, you're better than everybody else. And I'm going to tell you right now, I got 3 nails for you. And I'm going to nail you to that cross and I'm going to put you up. When you pay God back that way, then you got the rights. Are you willing? See, Jesus paid it all. He paid his blood. He paid that ultimate price. So how dare we think that we are better than him? Because when you come across thinking you're better than the world, who are you? One day you're going to wrinkle. One day you're going to have gray hair. You can only dye your hair so many times, people. But, and I'm not saying it's wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong to dye your hair. I'm not saying it's, but you think about it. I went back and shaved again. I got to watch because I got very sensitive skin. I mean, honestly, I do. And I can get ingrown hair just in a split moment, and then it just swells up, and then it's painful, and then I got to wait till the hair comes out and pluck it out and do all that nice, happy-go-lucky stuff. But I started wondering, should I be shaving or should I just keep it groomed up? Because of the fact, why would I grow a beard? Why did they grow beards back in Jesus' days? Maybe I'm not supposed to shave. Every day I look at my hair and it starts getting a little bit more grayer, a little bit more grayer, a little bit more grayer. Personally, myself, I'm not dyeing my hair because that's exactly what God intended me to do. I know what the doctor's been telling me, and I've been trying to be obedient. Well, like I said, we celebrate Darlene's birthday, and I had some ice cream, I had some cake. Not a big piece of cake, but it was a nice little chunk of it that I made myself. You guys would have been proud. But I wanted her to have a good birthday. And I tried my hardest. And I look at it, what would Jesus expect me to do? He expects us to love one another, to do the right things. I thank God for the things that I've went through more today than I ever have. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I thank God for that 24 years of marriage that I had. Because it taught me a lot. I have never in my life in 24 years been accused of so many things that was so not true. But it seems to repeat itself. Now I know somebody could say, well, Nelson, maybe it is you. If it was me, I sure would not be sitting here trying to warn you about heaven and hell. Because if you're capable of doing something, it doesn't leave you. Someone that kills people, it's a sickness, people. Look at all these famous people. Look at all the stuff that you see that's going on out there in the world right now. It's a sickness. Number one, I've seen too many things in my life to ever force myself onto anybody, or to rape somebody, or to do anything that's disgusting, despicable as that. See, there's darkness in my life that I don't talk about. Things that has happened to me that I won't share. Because it is beyond painful to go back through those days. Things that I have done. Do you think God was pleased with me? No. I tried every day to do the best I could to be a good dad. I don't feel I failed. Because in my way of looking at it, I sacrificed everything to make sure they had something. And today, it doesn't mean anything. You know, it's pretty bad when I can sit there and say, I wish I never did it. Because when you get pain over and over and over and over, and all they see is their side, but look at the cycle that they fell under. You got to be careful of how your household's being run. Men, you need to step the heck up, man. Because Lucifer's coming in there with a vengeance, and he's trying to destroy these households. And if we're allowing it, then how are we saying that we're Christians? Vice versa. How is it that maybe one spouse goes to church and the other one doesn't? But yet, you think, I'm going to change this person. Say you were a Christian before you got married, and you get married, or you move in with somebody these days. I mean, that's more popular now than anybody ever getting married. I know people that's been engaged for centuries. I mean, seriously. They're never going to ever get married, but they got engaged. Well, here's something. You know, just let me say this real quick. And this is what I tell young couples, especially girls. If you literally think that you're going to move in with this person and they propose to you, you literally think that they're still going to marry you, most likely it'll never happen. Why should they marry you when you're already playing house, you're already playing wife, you're already doing the wifely duties? Why? You're wearing a ring, you're doing all those things. Please explain to me why somebody would marry you. You know why? Because it's too darn gone easy these days to call it quits. Well, I don't want to be with you no more. I'm done. I question the fact, was you ever really in love in the first place? Or was you in love with an idea of something? See, Jesus was in love with us. He still is. Jesus would come after the one and let the 99 sit, because he knows the 99 that he has knows his voice and knows they are truly going to do and remove and move when he says. Jesus says this in the Bible. He says, I spoken and I went when my Father has given me to say, and I went where he told me to go. He also said, be a person of few words. We are to do the right things instead of the wrong things. And sometimes doing the right things, you're not going to be liked. But if you walk into a situation trying to be liked, you have accomplished nothing. Because Jesus clearly says they will hate you because they have hated me before you. So right there is telling you, when you don't have anything going on in your life, nothing bad, then you're not doing nothing good for God. Because every time you get ready to do something important for God, here comes the enemy. Look how many attacks I've had in the last couple weeks. Discrediting Jesus, adultery, so you don't listen to me. Well, why would you listen to an adulterer that's going to hell? Dragging somebody else into hell. Or maybe that person's dragging you into hell. Either way, you both get remarried. The other person's not dead. That's the only way that you could remarry is when the person passes away. So if that's the case, then wouldn't that still be adultery? I mean, think about it. I mean, there's a lot of things that I sit and think about that I don't give it a very long thought, because really, to me, denial of Christ, because now you just denied the Spirit, which the Bible is clearly doesn't say spirit, but we know that God poured out his spirit into Jesus when he got baptized. And we know when Jesus ascended back into heaven and the disciples went in the upper room, we know the Spirit fell upon them because they all started speaking in different tongues. Now you can determine tongue is what? Anybody that speaks a language you do not understand is a tongue. And if they speak of that, you're probably not going to understand it. But the Bible also says, pray to be an interpreter. Because without an interpretation, hearing somebody speak in tongues is useless. It's why we have interpreters today. Isn't that amazing? Years and years and years ago, this book was written. And we have interpreters today that can interpret it in different languages. Now you look at how smart AI is. You look at all the things that are going on. You look at C-3PO. He was an interpreter. He spoke many different languages, he said. Not all of them, because there were some that he couldn't. But for some freaking reason, everybody knew what Chewbacca was saying. I had no clue. I love Star Wars. And I still couldn't understand what the world does that even mean? Everybody. I mean, you look at it. Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, C-3PO. C-3PO understood R2-D2. Luke Skywalker understood R2-D2. And he made a bunch of beeps. I think they messed up, people, when they left that in Star Wars. I'm just saying. There isn't much I would change about Star Wars, but I'm telling you right now, there is a couple things that I would have changed, and that would have been one of them. Because who the world can interpret beepity beep 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 beeps? They should have left that out. Here's how clever. I'm going to use Star Wars right now since I just brought it up. Here's how clever Satan is. How many of you, even though you may not be a Star Wars fan, says, and I would love for you to comment on this, just say, yeah, Nelson, I always thought that's exactly what it was. And I guarantee some of you are going to look it up. But if you're being honest, and we are to be honest, we're to tell the truth. That's part of being a Christian, telling the truth. Now, sometimes people are not going to like what you're going to say. But I always say, you might not want to ask me then for what I would say. If you still want me to speak, I will. But otherwise, I would assume, I would just rather not speak. But how many of you have watched The Empire Strikes Back? Some of you probably know it very well. This is how clever Satan is. When Luke comes back, right when Han Solo just got put into the basically they froze him, the carbonation, and he ends up fighting Darth Vader in that basement scene type thing with their underground type thing, and it's all dark and the lights are on and it's real dim and they're going at it, and Luke gets his hand cut off. And Luke Skywalker's saying, you know, Obi-Wan told me enough. He told me that you killed my father. And how many people believes this line? Luke, I am your father. I've guaranteed 90% of people is going to go, that's what he said. Darth Vader said to Luke, Luke, I am your father. What Luke Skywalker said was, you killed my father. Obi-Wan Kenobi said that you killed my father. Darth Vader's truth, what he said was, no, I am your father. Because he's telling Luke, no, I didn't kill him. I am your father. He didn't say, Luke, I am your father. He said, no, I am your father. See, that's what happened in the temptation of Jesus. That's what happens in our lives. That's what Satan does to your children. That's what Satan does when you allow the foolishness of the things that goes on. This Halloween, this dressing up, this pretending. You're pretending, but what really happens is the whisperer starts to talk. The more and more and more you allow that thing to come alive and attach to you, the more it starts to take over you. The more things that you watch, but you claim to be godly, then why are you watching such smut? Why are you watching such nonsense? I know a few Christians that told me that they watched that Yellowstone with Kevin Costner. I wouldn't watch that because there is more cussing and more crap in that freaking show than it cares to shake a fist at. There's more nudity, more bearing and showing of things, because that's what sells. Let me tell you right now, all you're doing is setting yourself up for lust and adultery. Because why? Because he says even if you have the thought, you have committed adultery. Well, let me tell you right now, then there ain't too many people going to heaven. But listen, what happens? What happens to the majority of the marriages is adultery. Why? Because you stop being husband and wife. Why? Because there's so much nitpicking stuff that goes on in there. There's so many things that you don't do the dishes right. You don't do this right. You don't take out trash. You don't do this. You didn't mow the lawn right. You didn't hang the clothes up right. My clothes are wrinkled. Well, you got to be thankful and grateful that somebody even washed your clothes. Because if nobody did the laundry, you're going to complain that nobody did the laundry. If nobody cleaned the house, you're going to complain. Or you one of the people, when they clean the house, it's not good enough. You put on the white gloves and you go around trying to find something wrong. Then why would somebody want to clean the house? Please explain to me. Jesus didn't go around doing that. You may say, Nelson, what does all this have to do with going to heaven? It has everything to do with it. Because you're claiming to be Christ-like. That means you got to be just like Christ. Christian, look it up. To be a follower of Jesus, that means we got to follow him, follow in his footprints. You ever hear this saying, to travel a mile in someone else's shoes? Those are mighty big shoes you got to fill. We can't fill Jesus' shoes, but we sure can get as close as we can to it. Forgiveness. How many of you can't forgive somebody? How many of you can't pray for somebody? If you can't say I forgive somebody, but you can't pray for them. Can't say it. You just can't. Because if you can't pray for someone, and you can't do good, because he said do good to your enemies, those who have come against you. They come up asking, you are to give. So, what a roller coaster ride this one is, isn't it? And again, this is just how I walk. Doesn't necessarily mean you got to believe me. Doesn't necessarily mean, but I guarantee it, you'll find everything I'm telling you in this book. Idea, as I wake up tomorrow morning, if I wake up, I ask him every day, help me not sin. It's a sinless day. God has given me a sinless day. God gives us a new slate every day. He gives us a memory so we can remember yesterday and try not to duplicate yesterday. Because what does Jesus say? Go and sin no more, or worse may fall upon you. The more you keep allowing sin back in your life, the worse it's going to get. You go to work, do the best job you can do, but we're not to shortchange Jesus. How many of you pray when you go into a restaurant? Pray over your food. Out loud. Grab hands. How many times when somebody's in need and they're crying, do you go up, give them a shoulder to cry on, and ask them, may I pray over you? I don't care where you're at. Because these days you're liable to get killed. Are you willing to go to that extreme? I am. Are you? Or do you hold the world's ways? The Bible clearly speaks. Look at the scripture yesterday. Look what it says. You cannot be of the world and you cannot be of Christ. You cannot be of two. You cannot serve two masters because you're going to serve one better than the other. Good example. Glad you asked. I'll give you one. Let's just say I worked at McDonald's and I worked at Pizza Hut. Now, both parties knew that I worked at the other place. Let's just say they called me and I'm working at McDonald's tonight. We really need you to come in. That's my day off. I'm working over here. No. We really need you to come in. You can't come in, well, then we're going to start finding another person that can come in. But yet you're making a little bit more money there, but they ain't giving you enough hours. And then you're mad because the only time they call you is when somebody else calls off or they're not coming in. And why do I have to do this if it's my day off? See, they don't care if you're working somewhere else. Their thing is, this job that they're at is all they know. It's all they have. You should be the same way. Doesn't make it right what they're doing. That's the example of serving two masters. Somebody is going to lose. There is never a 50-50 in trying to serve two masters. Ever. It never balances itself out. There is no 50-50 trying to juggle different lifestyles. Act like you're a Christian when you're around Christian people, and then act like the world when you think the Christian people ain't around. Well, let me tell you right now, you're not escaping God. If you're not doing the right things of what a woman is supposed to do, the Bible speaks it. What a man's supposed to do, the Bible speaks it. Could it keep you out of heaven? Yes. Because you're doing things for the wrong reason. We have to uphold God's ways. Winter time's coming. You got widows that we're supposed to help take care of. I remember when I had my plow truck, and I'm just saying this. I'm not trying to seek man's praise on this, but I'm using it for an example. When I use these things for an example, I believe I'm not losing my reward in heaven because I'm teaching you with it. When I had my plow truck, I'd go around and plow in people's driveways. I never asked for a dime because it was the right thing to do. What's the right thing to do for you? Sometimes we got to walk backwards to be able to move forward. Truly. You know, it's very difficult when your children's upset with you, your spouse is upset with you. And unfortunately, sometimes men, that's going to happen. But you got to stand firm. You have to be the example in your household. You have to know what your true role is. And women, you need to know what your true role is. You know, how many times did you grow up and you said, man, did you hear wait till your father gets home? See, I never had to hear that because my dad wasn't there after, I don't even think I was in kindergarten yet, to be honest with you. I might have been, but I seriously doubt it. I never heard my mom ever tell me that. Because he wasn't there. How many of you have had discipline from your father on earth? And you were mad, upset. How many of you had a curfew? See, we have a curfew. We just don't know when God's going to send Jesus for us. Our curfew is eventually going to end. But I tell you what, I wish I had somebody that put a curfew on me. I wish I had somebody that cared enough about me to ask me questions. Is my homework done? Is this done? My mom could care less. I struggled. I didn't have to do homework. I didn't have to do anything. I remember I did my history homework. And I had these books about the presidents and all that kind of stuff. And then that's what we were doing. And I had these little boxes that were kind of thin. Almost like what is the name of that chocolate? Russell Stover's. You know how you get those flat boxes? They're like flat and you pull it off. That's what these things were kind of like, but it had the presidents in it. And it told what president they were. And that's where I learned to memorize the presidents. But funny thing is, I did my homework on the presidents. And I went into school, and history, the teachers would ask you, if you didn't do your homework, raise your hand. Well, I didn't raise my hand that day. And my teacher came up to me. This guy was a tool. He would embarrass me no matter what I did. And I raised my hand I raised my hand. He goes, you don't even got to raise your hand anymore. I just automatically mark you down not doing your homework because you're lazy. I'm not lazy. I had no clue what half you people were talking about. Again, anger starts building. So we got on the presidents, and I had all that stuff, and I had the books and the pamphlets that matched each president. So I started reading about the presidents, and I started reading about them. And I made a song up because the teacher, our actual history teacher, I forget what happened to him. He got sick or something. But we had a substitute teacher in there for a few days. Or maybe he was on vacation. I don't know. Does teachers even take vacations during school time, or do they wait till summer when it's break time? But he did detention and everything. So I don't know. I don't know what the guy's problem was, but either way, I went in there, raised my hand, and at this particular time, and he couldn't believe it. So I told him. Because he's like, well, this stuff isn't in this history book. Well, where did you get that information? And more or less calling me out, saying that I lied and I just made up my own stuff about this. And I said, no, I got it on my books. And I brought it in the next day and I showed him, and he was so amazed by it. And for once, I felt like I was a smart person. Like the kids are looking at me a little bit different now. I got an A+. First A+ I've got in probably 3 or 4 years of school. I hardly ever got A+. I got D's. I got a D+ once. And I always told myself that D was an example of A. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what I did. I did. D was just an example of A. No matter how many times you say it, you're going to say it. I want you to say it because I know you're going to laugh. Because you can't say it without laughing. Because it just doesn't make sense. That was my mind's thoughts. Still today, I will literally just laugh at my own self. I do. You know, I've always had a good imagination, and I thank Jesus for that because that's what got me through life. You know, we judge ourselves very hard, and I judge myself very hard. You know, there's many things that I've turned down over the years, and there's many things that I just don't feel like I'm worthy of. There's many things that I struggle daily with. But there's nothing wrong with me struggling over these things. You know why? Because I rely on Christ even more. And I fight harder to stay on that pathway that God has created for me. See, He knows my end because He knows my beginning. How do you know my beginning? Because He was there. To teach and lead people along this pathway, people, we have to do and set the bar. Instead of letting Lucifer set the bar and the world set the bar for us. We got to be the voices in the wilderness. We got to be the ones willing there to stand up for Christ. We have to be His people like He told Pilate. If this was my kingdom, then my people would come and defend me. Well, I take that very serious. Very serious. When you see somebody doing the wrong thing, you should go tell somebody. Because somebody else may watch them do the wrong thing, especially if it's a Christian. You better really go talk to them. And if they continue, then go tell somebody. Because a Christian shouldn't be doing the wrong things. We are to set the bar. But before you can set the bar, you better make sure you have it right. Because they're going to watch you. A fine-tooth comb. And it is freezing in here. I gotta turn that off for a few minutes, man. My feet are freezing. I woke up this morning just sniffling. And I'm still sniffling. Headache. Now it's too hot. You hear the fan just kick off? Now I'm too hot. Now I need to turn it back on. I'm trying not to laugh. But what did I just do? Complain. When you start complaining about everything in your life, you're letting the enemy into your life. Because you're never satisfied. Why? Why are you not satisfied? Do you go home to utilities on? Do you have clean water? Do you have clothes? Do you have a washing machine and a dryer at home? Or do you have to go to a laundromat? Maybe you do. There's nothing wrong with you having to go to a laundromat. If you have to go to a laundromat, do you have money to pay to wash your clothes? Do you got soap? Do you have fabric softener? Do you got Snuggle that you put in there and then you still use fabric sheets? Did you have to take an Uber? Did you have to walk the clothes and put it in a shopping cart and push it down to the laundromat? Did you drive yourself there? Do you have money in the bank when you decide you want to go out to eat? You can just go out to eat. Well, tonight we're having out to eat food. And then there's so many places where your children may say this. I don't know about anybody else, but I know Darlene did the same thing because I've heard her tell me. I used to have to go to 4 different restaurants sometimes. Going through fast food restaurants to get everybody's order. And let me tell you, by the time you pick up the last of it, it's cold. But they never seem to mind. I thought it was a little ridiculous. I probably should have never done it because I really did think it was ridiculous. So, there you have it. Complaining. Why? Complain about your marriage, complain about your children. Well, Nelson, you do a lot of that. No, I'm just trying to teach you. See, first of all, if they truly were my children, then they wouldn't act the way they act. I don't care if they're physically biological mine or not. I know a few of them are not. It's okay. I raised them as mine. Doesn't matter who the father is. I raised them. To them, I didn't do a very good job, but that's okay. The only person I got to make sure that I'm pleasing is God and Jesus. And now that I'm remarried, the person I'm married to, We can go through life pretending, but sometimes pretending isn't enough. When you're unhappy, the Lord told me this. When you're unhappy in life and you're settling, it's wrong. Why are you settling for less? It's okay to dream, but it's okay that we get His thoughts. What do you have for me in my life? Where do you want me? Because we can go quickly and say, well, let's face it, these days we can never make enough money. We can work ourselves into a grave. You can work yourself into being exhausted every day of the week. But what have you accomplished? Nothing. It's hard to tell you. Nothing. If you haven't done it for the right reasons, then you have accomplished nothing. You know, you think about the COVID, you think about all these things that are taking place out there. You think about these grocery stores that are stopping the self-scanning. First of all, they've shoved that down our throats, and now all of a sudden they want to take that away from us. Because now we got to go back and deal with the cashier. You know, all they're trying to do, people, is shut down these stores to do everything through home delivery. You may say I'm wrong, but I don't think I am on this. I don't think I am, because it's pointing right at it. Think about it. There's so much stuff that's going on in front of us right now. You're focused on the left hand, but you're not looking at the right hand. If we're focused on Donald Trump, that's going to save our lives. Donald Trump can't save my life. No. Donald Trump didn't give me life. He can't save my life. Not saying he's a bad man, not saying he's a bad president. I'm just saying he can only do with what he's capable of doing, people. That's it. No more, no less. It's amazing, isn't it? So I'm going to wrap this up. I still have a little bit that I want to say about this and go into a little bit deeper into the next part. So I'm going to do the third one. So hopefully this is giving you a lot more to think about. And really examine your household too. I can't stress it enough, people. The music, the movies, the TV shows, whatever you're doing, if it doesn't point to Jesus, get away from it. Stop hating people. Stop disliking things. Stop being annoyed by what somebody does. But most of all, stop talking about people. None of those things add up. It doesn't matter. 1 + 1 does not equal 2 when you do the things that you do. And I didn't even try to rhyme that, but it just did. So, there you go. So anyways, God bless you guys. I love you. Till the next one.